Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the latest debate that happened just right now in Las Vegas as part of the Democratic primary. It featured Mayor Bloomberg, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Senator Bernie Sanders, and former Vice President Joe Biden. This was the first debate that ever featured Mayor Mike Bloomberg, as he's the new entrant into the Democratic race and a very controversial one. It's very controversial because, as I stated before in my previous other videos, he he's worth more money than Donald Trump, and he's the only guy with enough resources to defeat Donald Trump in the general election come November. However, this angers many of his fellow his fellow Democrats, the people he's running against. I use that term lightly because me as a New Yorker can remember a time when Mayor Mike Bloomberg was a Republican, and he seemed like he switched parties just as a personal vendetta against President Trump, and just to prove a point. You don't really know his real political allegiances. He's kind of like another Trump in a way. Trump used to be a Democrat. He switched parties to Republican to become president, and Bloomberg used to be a Republican, and he switched parties as a Democrat to become president. Both guys seem very opportunistic. But realistically speaking, Mayor Mike Bloomberg is probably the only candidate out there and at all that can defeat the juggernaut that is Donald Trump. Bernie is too idealistic, and Bernie's platform relies a lot on socialism and communistic ideas that, while they were big in the 20th century, no longer seem as effective and practical in the 21st century. He, he had a moment up there where he talked about workers' councils in corporations. Well, that's as Bloomberg pointed out. That's exactly what they did in the Soviet Union after 1917, and it failed. You know, I mean, is Bernie being real here? I mean, I said this about Bernie Sanders since his attempt to run in 2016. So a socialist president is never going to be elected in the United States because of our history of anti-socialism. Whether you call yourself a democratic socialist and compare yourself to the Scandinavian countries like Denmark or Sweden or whatever, the point is, um, if you're a democratic socialist or a regular socialist or a communist or whatever, a far left winger, you're never going to be elected here in the United States. We cannot compare ourselves to Denmark or Sweden or the other Scandinavian countries. We have a much larger and more diverse population than those countries. And while those systems of healthcare and stuff may work effectively over there, they will never work effectively over here, and they will collapse and they will fail. And all the economic strides that were made over the past 8 to 10 years will happen again. We will have another economic recession if we follow Bernie's program. As far as Elizabeth Warren, well, she comes off as very idealistic. She doesn't seem like she has any practical plans to achieve much of anything. She focuses a lot on education, which is understandable since she was a former teacher. But in everything else, he has no clue what she's talking about. They all want to raise taxes on businesses, and none of them have ever owned a business. Some of them are teachers, some of them are career politicians. But as Mayor Mike Bloomberg pointed out, none of them have ever owned a business except for him. He is a very successful business owner, and he has the tools it takes to, again, defeat Trump. Where I part ways with Mayor Mike is his policy on racial issues. Obviously, stop and frisk was a thing and was an issue. But some New Yorkers argue that stop and frisk actually was a good thing for New York, and it kept New York safe in certain cases. I'm not saying it did, but my point is that politicians make mistakes, and some things they do um, are not good, and at least they have the guts and the um, integrity to apologize for it, as Bloomberg has done. All they want to do is attack his personality because they know that he has what it takes money wise. Here they are up here trying to um, plug their websites to get donations because they don't have the money and the resources it takes to defeat Trump. They don't run in Trump circles, but if there's anybody that knows Trump, it's Man Black Bloomberg. They run in the same circles. They're from the same cities. They're from the same social class. Now, some of Bernie's people might not want that social class, but that's all they're going to get because uh, if they don't elect Bloomberg, they're electing Trump. And all this infighting and talking about each other's heart attacks and attacking each other's age and attacking each other's um, economic status, showing no unity whatsoever among the Democrats. And there was an incident there where um, Mayor Pete Buttigieg said that the Democratic Party has a history of um, working for the little guy. Now, while this is true about the Democratic Party, I would sure hope that since he was slinging mud about the past towards Mayor Mike Bloomberg, that he wasn't going to sling mud a little bit too far and, and enable critics to sling mud on the Democratic Party's history itself. We are talking about the party that founded the Ku Klux Klan and that founded other racist policies up until the 1970s. So if you're going to talk about past mistakes that politicians made, and then you're going to bring up the proud history of the Democratic Party, you might not want to do that because let's not forget that the Democratic Party was once the party of George Wallace. Now, then they did. It's true that they did switch sides in the 1960s to a large degree, but even as we saw with Joe Biden, um, integration was an issue, even up until the 70s, after the civil rights bill. So I'm glad the judge did not go there and he stopped himself early. Um, and again, on the issue of hypocrisy, they talk about Bloomberg as a hypocrite because he's a billionaire. He implemented stop and frisk. But Bernie is a socialist, and the socialist ideology is to share all the wealth. But Bernie has 3 homes. So doesn't that make Bernie a hypocrite as well? like the point is that if we're gonna stoop to Trump's level and engage in personal attacks, we're going to get nowhere. If we're going to continue to talk about history instead of to talk about where we can move forward in the future, we're going to get nowhere as a party and as a nation. So I thought Bloomberg won the debate after initially being attacked ferociously by his enemies, as he knew he would. And then Joe Biden shamelessly tries to use the Las Vegas shooting that happened no less than 3 years ago in 2017 as a platform for his his bill that will um, uh, limit gun ownership. I mean, really, when you stop at nothing in the very city where this tragedy happened, to use it as a way to exploit the incident as a way to gain votes is dirty and shameless. And then to take credit for the things that Obama did during his administration when you were only a vice president and you fought hand in hand with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on certain things is cheap. And that's why Joe Biden got booed off the stage. That's why they're not really feeling Joe Biden the way they were when he first got into um, the election a couple months ago. Because he will stop at nothing in order to exploit any incident that he can. Those are my thoughts. And like I said, I see Bloomberg came out as the Rocky on this one. He was beaten up in the very beginning, but towards the end, he shined and he showed his ability to react. And that's always been the thing throughout the history of American debates on television, is how do candidates react when under pressure. We saw in the first debate ever in history in 1960 between JFK and Richard Nixon, and Nixon was sweating and Kennedy was cool. Saw the same thing in 2008 between McCain and Obama. Saw the way that Trump reacted in the first debate in 2016. How you react on TV matters to the American voters because we're unusual people. Anyway, guys, peace. I think the way Bloomberg reacted showed that he really came out strong for his first show.